Now, I welcome you all to the second part of the video lecture on biofertilizer. Here, we are going to study about the different steps involved in the production of biofertilizers, and we are going to study about the production of rhizobium biofertilizer and application of rhizobium biofertilizer in detail. In general, let us study the different steps involved in the process of the production of biofertilizers. The first and foremost thing is isolation of microorganism from appropriate source. See, if I have to produce a rhizobium or an acetobacter or an azoospermillum or any other blue green algae, the first and foremost thing is we require an appropriate microorganism, for which we have to isolate those organisms from a proper source. So for example, if it is a rhizobium, the source will be the root nodules of leguminous plants. Likewise, Azotobacter, since it is a free living organism, rhizosphere soil is better. Likewise, Azoospermillum, since it is one of an organism which is predominantly found in rhizoplain region, so of plants belonging to the family Graminaceae, so better to go for the roots of the plant belonging to the family Graminaceae. Likewise, the appropriate source has to be selected for the process of isolation of such microorganisms. Identification of microorganism. Whatever we have isolated, it has to be identified till species level. That is very much important. So identification of microorganism has to be done. It can be either by traditional method or by we can go for any of the molecular techniques for the identification of such organism. Preservation and maintenance of pure culture or mother culture. Once the microorganism has been isolated, which has to be used for biofertilizer, it has to be preserved in appropriate condition. We know the different methods of preservation, and it has to be maintained. The mother culture of the organism has to be maintained. Preparation of starter culture. For the process of mass production, the starter culture has to be prepared. Mass production using fermenters and appropriate temperature, pH, agitation, everything has to be maintained in fermenters. The mass production can be done. And preparation of carrier-based inoculum. Once the microorganism has been mass produced, it has to be dispatched to the farmers. The way in which we can provide these fertilizers to the farmers, it can be either through carrier based, it can be in the form of solid, where the carrier base may vary. We can use the different carrier base, where we are going to talk about those carrier base and all in detail. We can use peat, lignite, charcoal, or farmyard manure, or sometimes soil, rice husk. With such carrier base can be used, or the liquid biofertilizers, liquid formulations can also be provided for the process of application onto the field. And finally, once they have been prepared, it has to be stored in appropriate condition and temperature. And finally, those biofertilizers has to be packed and dispatched for the application onto the field. So once again, I will repeat the different steps involved in the production of biofertilizer. First and foremost thing is, with appropriate source, the microorganism has to be isolated, identified, preserved, mother culture has to be maintained. For mass production, starter culture has to be prepared. Once the mass production is being done, it has to be treated with appropriate carrier base, and it has to be packed and stored and finally dispatched to the farmers for the application to their field. Now, let us study in detail the different biofertilizers, how it can be produced and how they have been applied onto the field by the farmers. First, let us study about the bacterial biofertilizers. Taking the example of rhizobium as biofertilizer. We know that rhizobium is one of a symbiotic bacteria which is being found associated with the roots of leguminous plants for the process of atmospheric nitrogen fixation. However, this rhizobium need not have to be always symbiotic, only for the process of nitrogen fixation. If the nitrogen fixation has to happen, then it has to be found associated with the leguminous plants, or else they can also be free living and they can be even saprophytic and they can lead its own life, but the nitrogen fixation may not happen. Thus, rhizobium is found symbiotic association with leguminous plants and it forms the nodule. Inside nodules, they have an ability of producing an enzyme nitrogenase which helps in the fixation of atmospheric nitrogen. We have studied all these in detail in my previous classes. So, how to isolate this rhizobium? We are going to study that in detail in this particular video. And also this rhizobium, they are morphologically and physiologically different when they are free living and when they are in association with leguminous plants. When they have been associated with the leguminous plants, they are inside the nodules, they are pleomorphic, they of different morphology, and also they have been covered over by a membrane called as symbiosome, and they are called as bacterioids inside the nodules. If they are found free living, they are gram-negative rods. And another important thing is this rhizobium has got large amount of PHB granules in them. That is also one of the important characteristic feature of this rhizobium. One is nitrogenase activity, the other one is they have a PHB granules. You could see the microscopic views. It's an electron microscopic view where you can find some transparent zone inside the bacterial cells. Those are nothing but the PHB granules. That is an important characteristic feature of this rhizobium. So they are aerobic, gram-negative. Either it can be free living or associated with the leguminous plants for the nitrogen fixation, and they because of this property of fixing the atmospheric nitrogen and causing the nodules, this organism has been highly exploited for the production of biofertilizers for leguminous plants. And another thing we have already studied, that each strain in each variety of rhizobium is specific to a particular plant, to a particular host. Hence, if I am going to isolate rhizobium from a pea plant, Pisum sativum, and if I want to use the same rhizobium for the production of cowpea or osgram, etc., they are not specific. Hence, if you are going to isolate from pea, that is Rhizobium leguminosarum, then it has to be used only for peas. That is the thing which we have to know. This indicates that the rhizobium is highly specific to form a nodule in a particular leguminous plant. And this rhizobium inoculant as a biofertilizer was first prepared in USA, and it was also commercialized in one of our private entrepreneur in 1930. So this is about the rhizobium. Thing you have to note down here is they are gram-negative aerobic bacterium. For the process of nitrogen fixation, they require anaerobic condition. You know all those. They are symbiotically associated with the leguminous plants, cause the formation of the nodules and fix the atmospheric nitrogen, and they are highly species specific. So this is about the rhizobium. Now let us study the process of the isolation of this rhizobium from leguminous plants. How in laboratory we can isolate this. The first step in the production of this rhizobium biofertilizer is the isolation. So how to isolate? You know, the rhizobium is found in association with the leguminous plants. So the root nodules of the leguminous plants are our source of inoculum. So the root nodules are the source of inoculum. In vitro condition, if you have to grow them, we require a media. The specific media for the growth of this rhizobium is yeast extract mannitol agar. EMA, it's commonly called as EMA, yeast extract, mannitol, Congo red agar. The main purpose of adding this Congo red is to differentiate the rhizobium from agrobacterium species. Both agrobacterium is also one of the soil bacteria, and even this agrobacterium and rhizobium both can grow in this media. In presence of Congo red, agrobacterium, they have an ability of absorbing this Congo red and the colony appears red. Whereas rhizobium species, they doesn't have an ability of absorbing this Congo red, so the colony is colorless. So this is how you can differentiate agrobacterium from that of a rhizobium. So we are going to use yeast extract, mannitol, Congo red agar. That is the specific media which we are going to use. And these are some of the ingredients of EMA which you have to remember. Important thing is your mannitol and Congo red. These are the important ingredients. Mannitol serves as a carbon source, and the Congo red helps in differentiating agrobacterium from that of a leguminous plants. So how to isolate? The first step is collection of healthy root nodules from leguminous plants. How do you identify the root nodules are healthy? We have to pick up the nodules which are pink in color, which indicates that there is active rhizobium inside those nodules. If there is an activity of the rhizobium, there will be a leg hemoglobin. You know, leg hemoglobin is a protein which scavenge the oxygen. So if there is a high activity of leg hemoglobin, the nodules are pink in color, indicates the nodules are healthy. So collect such healthy unbroken nodules from the leguminous plants, from which you have to isolate the rhizobium. Wash the nodules with clean water so that the soil debris which are present around these nodules are removed. And also the chances of, the soil has got agrobacterium, inside nodules there are rhizobium. Our aim is to take out the rhizobium, not the agrobacterium or any other bacteria, because agrobacterium also has an ability of growing in this EMA. So that is the reason, in order to eliminate the agrobacterium, clean the nodules first in water, and surface sterilization has to be done. The surface sterilization, the main purpose of doing this surface sterilization, as you all know, in order to eliminate all other microflora which are present around the nodules. Our aim is to take out the organism which is inside. So the external part of the nodules has to be cleaned. That can be done by surface sterilization, first with 0.1% mercury chloride for 30 seconds. Treat the nodules, cleanly washed nodules, in a petri plate aseptically containing 0.1% mercury chloride for 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, take out the nodules and rinse in sterile distilled water, and then transfer it into a plate containing 70% ethanol. Ethanol, again treat for 30 seconds. You know the mode of action of ethanol and mercury chloride, how actually they kill the organisms, how actually they destroy. What is the mode of action, you have to know. So after 30 seconds, take out the nodules and again rinse in order to eliminate the ethanol. Rinse again in sterile distilled water, so that whatever the organism present around the nodules are eliminated by that time. These sterilized nodules are crushed. You can take out all these nodules, sterilized nodules, into a test tube containing sterile water, and with the help of sterile glass rod, crush these nodules inside the test tube. So once you crush these nodules, the rhizobium which are present inside the nodules are released outside, so that you will get one turbid suspension. So such suspension, whichever you have got, it has to be finally inoculated into a plate containing yeast extract, mannitol, Congo red agar. You can go for either pour plate or spread plate. Better to go for spread plate, because the temperature or we can even go for streak plate also. If in case of pour plate, the temperature might be a little more than 41 or 42 degrees Celsius. At that particular time, maybe the rhizobium may get, they are sensitive. That's the reason better to go for either spread plate or straight plate. Once the inoculation has been done, incubate for 2 to 3 days at 28 to 30, maximum 32 degrees Celsius. That is an optimum temperature for these soil bacteria to grow. So incubate for 24 uh, hours to 3 days. Even 24 to 48 hours also is enough. Uh, you can wait till 3 days and observe for the growth of the colonies. The colonies look like this, where you can see mucoid translucent colonies which has grown on the surface of the yeast extract mannitol salt agar, which are slimy or mucoid. They are not reddish in color. That we have to note down. Agrobacterium, they produce reddish colony, but because of absorbing this, they have an ability of utilizing this congorate. Whereas rhizobium species do not have the capability of utilizing this congorate. They appear mucoid, translucent colonies, mucoid colonies. So that if you stain and observe it under the microscope, they are gram negative. They are gram negative bacteria. So this is how the isolation has been done. The first, collect the root nodules, wash it with clean water, surface sterilize with mercury chloride and ethanol, and finally in sterile water, crush the root nodules in sterile water, the suspension whatever you get, inoculate onto yeast extract mannitol salt agar, mannitol agar, congorate agar, and incubate for 2 to 3 days at 28 to 32 degrees Celsius and observe for the growth of colony. If you could see mucoid translucent colony, and if you stain it, gram stain, they are gram negative rods. That is one of the identification feature of this rhizobium. So yeast extract mannitol agar is a selective media for rhizobium, and it's also a differential media. If you are going to add congorate, it differentiates rhizobium from agrobacterium species. Agrobacterium produces reddish colony, whereas rhizobium may not produce such reddish colony. Mucoid translucent, slightly creamish colony will be observed. Light pink to creamish colony. This is how the isolation of rhizobium is being done. So the next step is identification. How to identify this rhizobium? The traditional method of performing various biochemical tests can be done, or we can also go for any of the molecular techniques like isolation of the DNA or the DNA, and going for PCR and followed by sequencing, and using bioinformatics tools we can blast them and see the percentage of similarity and find out which species or variety they belongs to. That is one method, molecular method of identification. Many other molecular techniques we have. The traditional method of identification is by performing various biochemical tests. First and foremost thing is, once you get such mucoid colonies on EMA, go for gram staining. They are gram negative rods, as you could see in the images. They are gram negative rods, and they do produce PHB granules. That is another important. They are aerobic. And they are indole positive, methylrate positive, nitrate positive, and they are, another important thing which we have to note down is lactose negative. They are lactose negative mannitol. That's the only carbon source which we are providing, so it is mannitol positive, and they are starch positive. So these are some of the biochemical tests which we can do. Since agrobacterium and rhizobium both grow in the same media, yeast extract mannitol agar, so how to distinguish this agrobacterium from rhizobium? First thing is, and both are gram negative. And to distinguish, go for lactose test. Rhizobium is lactose negative, whereas agrobacterium is, they have an ability of utilizing lactose. That is one distinguishing characteristic feature of agrobacterium and rhizobium. And another important thing is, higher the pH, agrobacterium prefers to grow. Those are some of the important characteristic feature. And another important thing is, the rhizobium has nitrogenase activity. So nitrogenase test has been done. They are positive for nitrogenase, whereas agrobacterium shows negative test for nitrogenase. So these are some of the biochemical tests which we can perform to distinguish the agrobacterium from rhizobium, and also to confirm whether it is rhizobium or not. You can go for traditional method of identification, performing staining and biochemical test, or any other molecular techniques can also be followed for the identification. So once they have been identified, make a pure culture of the isolated organism, keep the mother culture, and preserve them by various techniques. Various techniques, lyophilization or periodical transfer, or overlaying the mineral oil, etc. Any other methods can be followed to preserve them and to maintain the mother culture. It has been identified. One more test which we can go for is nodulation test. In order to distinguish with agrobacterium from the rhizobium, we can also go for nodulation test, wherein which onto the sterile soil grow appropriate host and inoculate the organism which you have isolated, and allow the plant to grow in the soil, such soil which has been inoculated with your test organism. After few days of the growth of the plants, uproot the plants and see for the presence or absence of nodules on the roots. If the nodule has been formed, indicates it's a rhizobium species. So that is also one of the tests for confirming whether it is a rhizobium or not. Next, once the identification has been done, once the organism has been confirmed, our next step is mass production. It has to be produced in mass, and it has to be provided for the farmers for application onto their field. The first thing is the starter culture or the slants which we have maintained. The mother culture, you can see the image, the flow chart, slight blur, but you have to follow that. The first test tube on the left side of the particular image of the mass production is the mother culture. From mother culture, prepare one slant, and from there you can prepare the starter culture in a conical flask containing yeast extract mannitol broth. Inoculate 1 or 2 loop of the inoculum. Say for example, to start with 50 ml, then you can increase the amount of inoculum. The amount of inoculum is very important for the mass production. Less the inoculum, the growth rate may be reduced. More the inoculum size also is directly proportional. So that is the reason. Prepare 50 ml, then increase it to 100, then 1000 ml. For 1000 ml, you can transfer around 10 ml of the inoculum. And for 1000 ml of the production of the rhizobium, we can go for the fermenters. At the right side of this particular slide, you could see the image of the fermenter, wherein which the media has to be prepared. Add the media, sterilize the media in the fermenter, and set the temperature. The temperature required for the growth of this rhizobium is around 28 to 30 degrees Celsius. Set the temperature, set the pH to 7, and the agitator. See, for the agitator it is proper. Aeration has to be provided for the growth, since it is the aerobic organism. Only for the nitrogen fixation, anaerobic condition is required, or else this rhizobium is an aerobic organism. So proper agitation, proper aeration has to be provided, and for around 1000 ml of for 1000 ml of or 1000 liters of the production of the rhizobium, approximately 1 liter of inoculum is required. that is 1000 ml of inoculum is required. Inoculate and check for the temperature and the pH, everything frequently, and incubate for around 5 to 7 days. Frequently go for quality check. If any contamination has happened, that has to be checked. And also the cell size, the number of cells has to be maintained. Usually, according to Indian standard, 10 to the power of 8 cells per ml has to be attained. So once it attains such cell number, then the harvest, it is ready. It indicates that the mass production has happened. Once it is ready, at the same time, we have to keep the carrier base also ready. The carrier base which we can use are either, carrier base is nothing but the solid substrate for mixing this inoculum. We can't give directly this inoculum to the farmers. That is the reason some base, carrier base has to be provided. This carrier base can be either peat, lignite or charcoal, can be used for rhizobium. So charcoal or peat or lignite has to be finely grounded into fine powder, sterilized. They are sterilized in an autoclave at 121 degrees Celsius at 15 psi for 15 minutes. Once the sterilization of this carrier base has been done, mix this inoculum, whatever the rhizobium has been produced has to be mixed thoroughly with this carrier base, and it has to be dried in shade. Inoculum plus the carrier base has to be dried in shade, and finally it has to be packed in a polythene bag. The specification for this polythene bag and all I will let you know later. It has to be packed in a polythene bag, and it can be stored at 4 degrees Celsius, and it can be dispatched to the farmers. Once again I will repeat the mass production, how it has to be done. From mother culture, prepare a slant. From that slant, prepare a starter culture. Can increase the volume of the inoculum from 50, 100 to 1000, and then this 1000 ml of inoculum can be sufficient for the production of around 1000 liters of the biofertilizer. Check the fermenter, the condition for the process of the fermentation or for the growth of rhizobium frequently. The temperature, pressure or the pH, agitation, aeration has to be checked frequently. Check for if any contamination, and check for the attainment of the cell of 10 to the power of 8 cells per ml. 1 ml of the broth should contain 10 to the power of 8 cells. If that has been attained, then it has those produced rhizobium culture can be mixed with sterilized carrier base, can be peat or lignite or charcoal, finely powdered and neutralized, sterilized carrier base has to be used. Once you mix this rhizobium with that of the carrier base, dry it in shade. Once it is dried, see for the moisture content also. More the moisture content, the chances of the contamination with other organism can happen. So that's the reason the proper moisture has to be maintained, and pack it in polythene bag and store at 4 degrees Celsius, and finally dispatch to the farmers. So this is how the mass production of this rhizobium has been done. So once the rhizobium biofertilizers has been prepared, has been produced, it has to be dispatched to the farmers. Once it has been dispatched to the farmers has to use this biofertilizer for applying onto their crops. How these rhizobium biofertilizers can be applied by the farmers? The best method is seed treatment, since this rhizobium is one of a symbiotic bacteria which usually gets associated with the roots of the leguminous plants. That is the reason better to go for seed treatment. During the process of the germination of the seed, the entry of the rhizobium into the host become easier. That is the reason better to go for seed treatment. That is nothing but treating the seed or mixing the seed or coating the seed with the rhizobium. That is the principle behind this seed treatment. How to do this? 50 grams of sugar is boiled in 500 ml of water and it is boiled for 15 minutes. 200 grams of gum arabica is added into the boiling sugar solution and stirred well so that the entire sugar and gum arabica gets dissolved. 200 grams of rhizobium inoculant is added into the solution, sticky solution, and mixed well to get a biofertilizer slurry. Later, the seeds of a leguminous plant is mixed along with this slurry, and it has to be spreaded on a polythene sheet in shade. Once the seeds are dried, they are sown in the field. And another method of usage of this biofertilizer application is once you are growing the crop which has been inoculated with the rhizobium biofertilizer, if the crop rotation has been done with such legumes which were treated with the rhizobium with the cereals which increases the yield in subsequent cereal crops. That is, if you are going to go for crop rotation with the rhizobium inoculated legumes with cereals, the yield can be noticed. The difference in the yield can be noticed. So these are the methods of application of the rhizobium biofertilizers. Since it is a symbiotic organism, better to go for seed treatment. There are also seedling treatments and the soil treatments and all. For biofertilizer, the only best method is seed treatment and crop rotation for other kinds of vegetable crops or cereals crops or fruits or whatever it is. So this is about the biofertilizer, that is rhizobium as biofertilizer, how it can be isolated, identified, mass produced, and how it can be applied onto the field. In my next video lecture, let us study about Azotobacter as biofertilizer.